Auxpert here, and welcome to the Game Grinder, and today we are doing another pickup video. And if you watched my previous pickup video, that was kind of like a one-off special edition thing. If you haven't watched it, really recommend checking it out. Got to meet a fellow metalhead and YouTuber, Corpse Blood Gaming, and it was a lot of fun, and got some really cool stuff. But this is everything that I've gotten since the previous, before that pickup video, and there's some really cool stuff here. I'm going to go through it in kind of like a few different sections, just to kind of keep it organized for my own purposes anyways. So I guess without further ado then, let's get to it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about here, my friend Cliff, Throwback Gaming. If you haven't seen his channel, you should totally check it out. I'll put links in the description, of course. Awesome guy, great channel, has some crazy finds. Not like, you know, he's not finding like world championship carts or anything, but he gets pretty good deals. He hits them flea markets in Texas pretty good. And in one of his videos he showed off a Rocket Knight Adventure for the Sega Genesis that he had picked up, and I'd mentioned, oh man, I've been looking for that game for a long time, which I have. I've came across it a few times, but never for a price that I really wanted to jump on, which, I don't know, for a game that was probably my most sought after game, I could have paid the extra, but it kind of defeats some of the fun in trying to find the deals. Of course, being a game collector and collecting so many games, I can't be paying top dollar for games. But anyways, he hit me up and was like, hey, would you be interested in having this copy? And I was like, yeah, sure, totally. So graciously, he sent me a copy of Rocket Knight Adventures for the Sega Genesis. Super stoked. Pretty good condition here. Of course, I'm sure he cleaned it up a little bit, as that kind of seems to be his thing. And with that, too, he included a couple other little surprises, which I greatly appreciate. And of course, before I go any further, again, thank you very much for this hookup. This is awesome. So he included a couple of these like Doom cards. These I got a couple other ones from when I previously bought Doom. It was like a GameStop thing or something, so got another one of those. And then this was kind of the really neat surprise. And so well, I mean, it's a loose board, and it's a Super Nintendo board. Just I know the shape and everything, but I haven't yet tested this out. Throwback Gaming can't remember exactly what it is, or maybe he does and he's just, you know, trying to trick me or something. But basically, I'm figured I'd do a little video about this, checking this out and kind of, you know, seeing what the surprise is. You know, hopefully it's nothing like horribly terrible, but it could be something pretty cool. You know, it's not going to be like Chrono Trigger or anything by any means, but, you know, could be something pretty fun, and I think it would be a fun video to do nonetheless. So then, with that, I guess kind of moving on to the next thing here in no particular order. So as you notice, I am sporting my awesome Shantae shirt, and this is kind of like a special occasion, I guess. I don't wear the shirt a lot, just because I don't want to like wear it out too quickly, but this is definitely Shantae season. Of course, if you know, in a couple weeks here, or next week actually, the new Shantae game, Shantae and the Half Genie Hero, comes out digitally for PC. It's also going to be on PS4, Vita, and Wii U, I think. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, super excited for that. And there's been a lot of great Shantae development in the last few months, so I guess I will just kind of roll into it then. So the first thing here is Rising Star, another game company that seems to be doing taking what were digital-only games and doing physical releases for them. So originally, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse was released as a Japanese exclusive physically. Like, the game was, of course, released for, you know, worldwide previously on most digital platforms, but there's never a physical release. And Japan had gotten a physical release, and it's actually been a while. Like, I'm sure way forward, I don't know, I could be full of myself, but I've harassed them for months and months and months about getting, why don't we have a physical release for this in the US? I doubt, you know, that has anything to do with it, but Rising Star had published Pirate's Curse for the 3DS. I don't even have 3DS, but I don't really care because this game is freaking awesome, and it's a relatively cheap game, so I picked up that. And then if you know where I'm going with this, of course, I've talked about it before, especially on the podcast. If you watch the podcast, you know, I was super excited. But again, there's the company Limited Run that, just like Rising Star, are more well known for releasing physical releases of what were digital-only games. In the past, a lot of the releases weren't the greatest of games, and I'm not sure if that had to do with them kind of being a startup and needing to, you know, get their footing and making connections and things like that. But more recently, they've had a lot of better releases like Oddworld and Shadow Complex, and there's a few others. But of course, exciting news is that they were going to do physical releases for Shantae, Risky's Revenge, and Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. And if anybody who's watching right now doesn't really know what all the hubbub about Shantae is, for me, I reviewed all three games, the original Game Boy Color game, Risky's Revenge, and Pirate's Curse. Love the games, absolutely fantastic. Some of the best platformers around, in my opinion anyways. Whether you agree with me or not, that's, you know, up to you, but I love the series, and yeah, I've just wanted physical Shantae games since I started playing the series just last year, actually. And of course, there is the Game Boy Color game, which is a few $100s, which I will pick up possibly pretty soon. We'll see what happens in the future here, but of course, well, just jump right into it. So what Limited Run had done is physical releases, like I said, of Shantae and the Pirate's Curse and Risky's Revenge. And kind of a funny story with this is they were advertising that with each game they were going to have reversible covers, so they're showing, you know, both sides of the games. And after I had placed my order, I found out that they were sealing the games with reversed covers. So say, for instance, you ordered 2 copies of Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, you will get one of each, possibly. They couldn't guarantee that you get both covers, but you know, they put one like this, one the other cover, sealed. So for the crazy collectors like me, much like, so you have to get 2 copies to get both covers if, like, you want the sealed versions. If you open it up, it doesn't really matter that much. Since I have the games digitally, I don't know if I will bother opening these, just because these are kind of like some of special collector things for me anyways. But so when I'd heard about this, a friend had asked, hey, if they go available and you can order multiple copies, can you order me a copy? And I told him yes. And when I told him that, and when I placed the order, I wasn't aware of that they were shipping them with reversed covers. So when I got them, I was like, oh hey, yeah, they got reverse covers. I had to give them up, of course, because he paid for them, and I'm a man of my word. So what I think I will do eventually is probably order the alternate versions of them if they're not like crazy expensive. At first, for a while, prices were ridiculous. Of course, limited run stuff is limited, and collectors are crazy, of course. So we'll see what happens. But then, of course, I got the limited run stickers, and then there's like little postcard dealios that I got as well. And with that, not just having those games physically now is super exciting, but at the same time, they released physical soundtracks. And of course, just like the games, I absolutely love the soundtracks for Shantae. They are done by Jake Kaufman, who also composed Shovel Knight. So if you are a Shovel Knight and haven't played Shantae, you can kind of get the pedigree of the music there. A little bit more, it's a little less retro like Shovel Knight, where Shovel Knight was pretty much strictly chiptunes, where Shantae kind of uses a little bit other stuff with it to make it that much better. But with that, of course, I picked up all 3 soundtracks, Shantae for the Game Boy Color, Shantae Risky's Revenge, and Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. So as you can imagine, as a Shantae fan, I am super stoked. Of course, in 2 weeks, or I keep saying 2 weeks because next week, anyways, the next Shantae game is out. I'm super stoked. If you haven't seen my reviews, really recommend checking them out. And of course, I will be reviewing Shantae Half Genie Hero when I have it. Well, then moving on to the next little bunch here. Of course, I've mentioned before, I'm part of a local Facebook group, the Minnesota Retro Gamer Society, and every few months we'll do meetups where people bring games, buy, sell, trade kind of things, or just hang out and talk about games or whatever. They're always a lot of fun, always pick up some awesome stuff, a lot of great deals to be had, and I think I made out pretty well this time. So, first thing is I kind of got there early before a lot of people got there. And when one of the other guys showed up, he's like, hey, you like PC games, right? And I was like, oh yeah, totally. He's like, I got something for you. And I was like, oh, interesting. What could this possibly be? Like, I don't really talk about like PC games in general, I guess, in the group. What I've done on the YouTube channel and what I've talked about in like the podcast and things like that. But had absolutely no idea of what it could possibly be. So I go over and say, hey, so what'd you bring? And he hands me this, and this is the official Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Collector's Edition. Now these are the old D&D games. I haven't really played all of these. Of course, I'm going to try to show some screenshots. One of my friends, and actually funny enough, when I was a teenager, I used to play Dungeons & Dragons for a few years, and one of my friends actually had a couple of these games, so I got to check them out. Never got to play them extensively, but they're really cool, and these are games that I've always wanted. And unfortunately, this doesn't come with the games. The games are gone, but it has all the books. It has like the copyright manual and the dial to figure out the copyright information, so you can put in serial numbers and things. But yeah, just super awesome. And he's like, hey, it's yours, have it. This is like, I know you'll enjoy it. So yeah, really cool. And if anybody happens to come across any of these games loose, let me know. If they are super cheap, just pick them up and I will pay you back for them. So I gotta find these games now, but that's really, really awesome. And then a few other kind of random games. I wasn't looking for anything in particular. A few things jumped out to me. And I guess I will talk about this next thing here, and this is the Metal Gear Solid VR Missions Demo CD. So, kind of a story to this is there's another guy in the group. He's been at a few of the meetups in the past, and every time he's at the meetup, I look through his stuff, and I see this. And this is basically, it's a sealed Metal Gear VR Missions demo CD, something I've never seen before, something he never saw until he found this. I can't remember if he found it like a Goodwill or something, or if it was like a garage sale or something, but yeah, I was like, oh, what's that about? And I looked up the prices, couldn't really find a lot, but the things I was finding seemed like it was a little high just because there was not really much to gauge it on. So of course people are going to throw things out there for maximum profits, which it is what it is. But I never really wanted to. I didn't want to pay what it was probably worth, and I didn't want to haggle with him because he seemed like a really nice guy, and I think he should get what his stuff is worth if that's what he's trying to get. But yeah, so every time I see this, I'm like, oh, there's that again. And he's like, oh, yeah. I keep telling him, I was like, one of these days I will buy this. And, of course, he comes to the meetup, check out his stuff again. Of course, oh, yep, there it is. He's like, oh, yep, there it is. And I was like, oh, man. Again, I was like, I will buy this eventually. And he's like, you know what? He's like, X amount and it's yours. I'm like, really? Are you sure? He's like, I have no real use for it. Nobody seems to be that interested. He's like, I know you'll appreciate it, and I'll go home, so, it's yours. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And, even though I wouldn't have necessarily bought it if the price was, that normally, but just because he was willing to make that deal for me, I was like, hell yeah. And really cool little Metal Gear collector's piece, I think, anyways, for my collection. So, added into the mix, I think that's something pretty special. So, then jumping on to the next thing here is going to be a game that I probably should have had. It's actually a game that I've wanted for a really long time, and funny enough, is I don't actually see it very often when I'm out in game shops or garage sailing or trading with friends, just because everybody wants this game because it's an awesome freaking game, and that is Bionic Commando for the NES. And yeah, just a really solid game. If you don't know anything about Bionic Commando, I really recommend checking it out. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say about it other than that. So then, probably besides the Metal Gear and the AD&D, another really cool hookup I got was a couple of friends had copies of Einhander, and I ended up buying a copy of it. Got a really awesome deal. This is a game that I've always wanted since it was released. I used to have the demo CD, and it was like a level, or not even a level or something. I used to play the crap out of it just because it was so cool. It, especially being a Squaresoft game, Squaresoft made my favorite games pretty much of all time, like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasies and Secret Mana and things like that. And during the mid-90s in particular, they kind of tried some different things. They did Einhander, they did Brave Fencer Musashi, The Bouncer, Ergies, like all these different kind of genres to see, what was out there. And, not all of them were hits, but Einhander was definitely a really cool game. Copy is super clean, so I'm super stoked to have this. Now, of course, just like everything else, it's making the time to actually play this stuff. I have my master list of games I'm playing next, and, this one's got to get up there pretty soon. So then a couple other games here. Kind of a random pickup here. I was just looking through one of the guy's things, and this one kind of jumped out to me, and this is Shadow of Destiny. And it looks to be, initially when I was looking at it, I kind of got the impression that it was a survival horror game. Kind of looks like the third person, early PS2 era sort of deal. And one of my friends told me it was kind of like more of a murder mystery. So still, I think it looks really interesting, and eventually I will get to it and probably do a review for it too. And before I forget to mention it, this Minnesota Retro Gamer Society meetup was at Legacy Games in Shakopee, Minnesota. I had never been to this location. I'd been to their other one in Rosemont. Decent store. I've gone there plenty of times, not to the Shakopee one, of course. So it was really cool. Thanks, Dan, for hosting this meetup, of course. And it'd be silly if he didn't bring in a bunch of stuff to make some deals on. So he said that he was doing great deals. Black Friday was right around the corner. He's like, I'll do Black Friday or beat it even. He's like, you just let me know and I'll look it up and we'll make a deal. So looked over his stuff. He had a lot of really cool stuff, things that I wasn't really necessarily looking for at the time, despite having really great deals on them. But there are a couple games, of course, that I picked up. So the first one here is Carrier for the Sega Dreamcast. This is a survival horror game. I haven't heard great things about this, but I heard it's a decent game, and I love survival horror, tank controls, and all that. So this is a game that I've wanted since I picked up a Dreamcast, so it's really cool to have that. And then this one I was really stoked to pick up. Unfortunately not complete, it's missing the manual, but Dark Cloud 2, a game that I hadn't played. I didn't know a whole lot about until probably the last couple years. It seems like it's really gotten a lot more attention more recently, and everyone said this is a freaking awesome game. The first one is okay, but Dark Cloud 2 is awesome, one of the best games on the system or something. So pick that up, of course. Awesome deal on that as well. So yeah, another successful Minnesota Retro Gamer Society. Had a lot of fun, made some great deals. Got to talk to friends again, get to talk to them online and whatnot, but hanging out and talking's a blast. Well, then moving on to the next little batch here. These are basically just things I've picked up in the last couple months. So we'll start with these. So I picked up a couple amiibos. First one here is Lucas from Mother 3, the sequel to Earthbound that we never got here in America. I have a reproduction of this, which one of my earlier pickup videos I talked about. I hadn't played it, just checked it out a little bit, but I will get to it eventually. And of course, if you saw my last pickup video, I finally got Ness, so I figured, hey, might as well kind of stick to a theme here. And then more recently, I picked up the 8-bit Link from Original Legend of Zelda, I'm assuming. And it was kind of funny is I saw pictures of this online. I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. It's like the 8-bit Mario. And in my friend Corpse Flood, his last pickup video, he actually picked this up as well. And he talked about it, and he's like, yeah, it is pretty dang ugly. And I will have to agree. This is kind of like it, you know, like looking at it on camera, like even as I'm looking at the preview picture here, like it doesn't look that bad, but when you look at it in person, it's just like, I don't know, there's something about it. It's an ugly ass 8-bit figure. As cool as it is, just looks weird for some reason, but still pretty cool. And then of course, with all the big news about Final Fantasy 15, even though I did not get the game myself, I decided to pick up one of the Jones Colas, the Energizing Elixir. And these are basically just relabeled Jones Colas. Last year I got one of the actual, I got right here, the Nuka-Cola Quantums that I don't think I ever talked about in a video, but, you know, why not get this one too? Got a couple of them, don't know if I'll drink the other one or not, but thought that was pretty neat. Sorry for any weird edits here, I almost forgot about a few games when I was shuffling things around. A couple other kind of like random pickups that I got that I wanted to include in this video, since it'll probably be a little while before my next pickup video. So the first game here is Anima, Gates of Memory. This is a like action RPG. Got a physical PAL release, you know, UK release. So I bought this like about a month ago or so. And now, just recently, there was announced that NIS America is doing kind of like a limited edition of this, so that's kind of a drag. I got a pretty good deal on this, so I'm not upset, but the limited edition wasn't much more than what I paid for this. You know, oh well, things happen. But yeah, I got that, looks pretty sweet. Apparently it's based on a pen and paper role-playing game, but I don't know much about it. Then the next game here is another one of these companies, excuse me, that are doing limited physical releases of what were digital games, much like Limited Run, and this is a Signature Edition, and this is one of their first releases. This is basically a, think cel-shaded Tenchu. You know, kind of like stealth assassin ninja game. Looks pretty sweet. Haven't gotten around to playing it, of course, but this is the Signature Edition. Comes with the soundtrack, art book, I believe. Yeah, pretty cool. Really excited to get to that one. And then most recently, this is another game I'm super excited to play. Much like a lot of these games, you know, I pick them up with the intention of playing. Don't know when we'll get to them, but this one I'm trying really hard to bump up to the top of my list as games to play next, and that is Owlboy. So Owlboy originally got a digital-only release on PC, and IndieBox, who one of those companies that do the monthly like subscription game boxes, them in particular do physical releases of digital PC games. I did the Stanley Parable unboxing a while back. Of course, another video if you want to check it out. And they did a physical release of Owlboy. Now this isn't like the collector's editions with all the extra stuff like their normal releases. It looks like they're kind of spinning off into more like just straightforward standalone physical releases of games, but this one does come with a physical soundtrack. I haven't opened it up yet, but it comes with the soundtrack in a cardboard sleeve, so that is pretty neat, and it seems like it has a pretty hefty manual. Really cool looking game. I've heard nothing but great things about it. Really looking forward to playing it, and I hear the soundtrack is awesome as well, so hell yeah. Yeah, so then we'll just kind of run through a few things that I've talked about to some extent in previous videos. Of course, the first thing I'm going to talk about here is my Hyperia reproduction. If you haven't seen my review, really recommend checking it out. But basically, Hyperia was a Super Famicom exclusive up until recently. I mean, you could play ROMs of it in Japanese, but it was just recently, a couple months ago, the game was finally translated to English. Basically, a lot of the in-game text was in kind of like an image format, so it was really hard to just, you know, translate the game. And this is a game that for like 20 years now I've been checking, like ever since I first heard about it. Like first got online, looking up video game stuff, I heard about this. Checked it out, couldn't really play it, you know, reasons I explain in the review, but one of my local friends, also in the Minnesota Retro Gamer Society, makes reproductions, and I hit him up and I was like, hey man, could you make a reproduction cart for me? Took a little while, but I finally got it, and super glad to have it. Still, as far as I know, I'm the only person that has a reproduction English translated Hyperia, so that is you know, just something funny. Like, I don't feel cool or anything. You know, maybe a little cool for being exclusive, but it's more just, I think it's kind of funny to be able to, you know, I'm being more ironic than anything, but, you know, whatever. I still got it. That's awesome. And then another reproduction thing here. I talked about it a while back. Did a little unboxing video for it, but this is the Hyperlight Drifter Collector's Edition, basically. This was a digital-only game. Hasn't seen any other physical releases at this point. And basically, can't remember the name of the company that did this now. I think it was I Am 8-Bit, actually. Put together this little collector's edition. So basically, if you want to see what it comes with, check out the unboxing video. But it basically just comes with a Super Nintendo cart, really cool blue color. It doesn't actually have a game board in it, but it is a, you know, kind of a physical thing so you can have on your shelf. Comes with the key for the game, has a really nice manual, map included. But, you know, of course, this is one of the cooler games that I've played in the last year, so I had to pick this up. It wasn't too terribly priced. And then the last couple things here I have done videos for. So the first one here is Dishonored 2 Collector's Edition. I'm currently playing through Dishonored 2, getting close to the end, almost there. You know, I can see the horizon, but you know, really cool game, really enjoying it so far. And of course, did an unboxing video. Check that out if you haven't. And then lastly here is the Last Guardian Collector's Edition, which I just recently did a unboxing video for as well. Thinking about playing this one as soon as I finish Dishonored 2, but I'm not sure, but probably. Depends if I get to this before Shantae comes out, because once Shantae comes out, that is my jam. Yeah, a lot of stuff, a lot of things to say. Again, much like my last one, I seem like recently I've been a little bit more rambly, so there might be some weird edits here and there, but, you know, I got a lot of things to say. Kind of stream of consciousness, I don't plan any of this out, so I like to flub my words quite a bit. But, of course, as always, I would be very interested to know your thoughts in a lot of these games that I've picked up. You know, picked up any games yourself? Have you played some of these? Are you looking forward to getting some of these? You know, what are your thoughts? And yeah, so I think that will do that for this pickup video. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you next time on the Game Grinder.